So,
Well, you got it.
How are you all doing?
so good.
Okay. This is the very first of many forays onto our rooftop. We don't own it, but we do. We do own it. We own it right now. Welcome to the rooftop. And my name is Jay Ponteri. This is our final faculty reading this evening. We have 4 awesome writers: Ryan Pierce, myself, Sarah Sutter, and Ahnika Wood. It's going to be terrific. Get ready for awesomeness coming your way. So, as you all know, low-res creative writing has a close sibling, low-res visual studies. And the chair of that program is Ryan Pierce. And we do all sorts of collaboration and hanging out. And it's such an honor to share this experience, because Ryan is not only an amazing visual artist and activist, Ryan is a fiction writer. He's very quiet about that, except around us. Ryan Pierce's paintings, prints, and experimental artist books envision a world recovering from human industry amid the throes of climate chaos. He draws on influences from ecological theory, literature, and folk art to create scenes that portray the resilience of the natural world. Welcome, Ryan Pierce.
Thank you, Jay. Can you all hear me? I have kind of a quiet voice. Good. Yeah, thanks for being here, and thanks for inviting me, Jay. This has been my secret life, my fiction writing life, and trying to come out of my shell a little bit. And so I really appreciate the invitation. I'm in that secret life. I am a MFA student, like many of you, but I'm go to Portland State University, and I've been for 4 years kind of carving away at the MFA experience part-time. But it's just been wonderful, and it's also given me, I think, a deeper appreciation for what Jay has done with this program and the kinds of writers that are involved. And so I get to like vicariously latch on to some things, which has been really wonderful. The book that a lot of us read recently, Leanne Betasamosake Simpson's Theory of Water, has a passage where she's paraphrasing Robin D.G. Kelley and says something to the effect that like liberalism enables fascism, which is a provocative statement. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, but this piece of in-progress short fiction is maybe a little bit in conversation with that idea.
Yeah.
And a little bit in conversation with Fable. The baby sleeps through the night now, but I do not. I surface instead after 3 gorgeous hours, bought with Black Label and diphenhydramine citrate. I stumble on stage into the dream I've somehow made my life. My wife breathes from her cocoon of blankets beside me, the softest snore. The dog adjusts himself to warm my shifting feet. An early spring breeze moves cotton curtains like a jellyfish's bellows, sweeping in abundance, drawing out self-doubt, sweeping in renewal, expelling black, shattered asteroids of regret. Which is all to say, insomnia is easier than it used to be. It hasn't rained in weeks, but I've come awake to a concerto of droplets on the skylights, their polyrhythm anchored by a deep and distant groan from barges on the river. I often hear the sounds of unfathomable tonnage settling in a hold, or a grain elevator yielding open its rusted bay, or the complaints of whatever ailing industrial age is staggering to its knees on someone else's graveyard shift. Above, under, and between all that is the racket of rubber wheels on the driveway, plastic flapping, sardine cans clattering to cement. It is not trash night and hasn't been for what feels like months. The moon illuminates what the busted streetlight no longer does. The rag and bone man has chosen our house this dark morning. I catch him with his finger poised at the bell. Wake my baby and I'll smash your skull, I will. He licks his thumb instead, extends a hand that I somehow can't not shake. Although what's this? It's not a hand he's offering, but a torn up root ball of an olive tree. Crumbs of dry earth shower my bare feet. You must be mistaken, I begin. My voice sounds meek and wavering, damp laundry on a line. He clicks and whistles, and a gust of rankness knocks me back, which I worry will read as an invitation to enter my house. But the rag and bone man does not. He rifles through his rucksack and finds a shibari plastic bag, unbinds its twine, and presents a stuffed plush gazelle. I know it's a gazelle because I've seen them in the wild once on a miserable safari.
It's a train.
Okay, I say. I begin to explain that I need to fetch my wallet before we haggle on a price, but as I turn away, the rag and bone man turns too, shuffling into the night with his wretched contraptions, leaving me to stroke the toy antelope on my unlit front stoop in the night like a madman. Daddy got you a toy. My wife sounds surprised and maybe even pleased. She is always the first and sometimes the only one to think of the baby's needs, to order the next size of onesie or something called developmental caterpillar. The baby coos and mashes the stuffed creature against the shelf that used to hold our record collection. Something is awry though, and I coerce the gazelle away to find a hairy maroon larvae wriggling from the seam where its legs meet. I can barely make myself hold on long enough to get it outside to the garbage. The baby screams, apoplectic at my theft. 3 nights later, my neighbor leaves his window open and falls asleep with the TV on. I can't understand the words, but I sense the strained enthusiasm of a game show host long past dignified retirement. The wind shifts direction, slapping the neighbor's flag against our house across the alley where we store the trash bins. Our neighbor is a cave person who justifies his apocalyptic politics with customized lies from AI chatbots. He likes to bait me, lacing casual racism into banal observations. I guess it's raining too hard for the mail today. I hear those people are superstitious about rain. He wants me to bristle at who he means when he says those people, but I remind him it's Sunday and we have never gotten mail on Sundays. The wind lifts again, and a shuffle scrape rides the draft. I meet the rag and bone man at the curb. The clarity of pre-dawn makes an ensemble all the more troubling. A cardboard visor and crowded teeth. Definitions blur between hood and chin, between eyes and their inferred meaning. I summon up some gumption. Can't you come at a more reasonable hour? The rag and bone man smiles at my simple-mindedness. We'd set the dogs on him, of course, if he chanced the light of day. Too slowly, too gradually, he spreads a thread-worn blanket on the apron of the driveway, and too tenderly, he moves aside my many unread newspapers in their plastic husks to present me with his pitiful wares. A burnt pot with a pewter spoon fused to its bottom. A cheap faux oak frame with a family picture, its subject sun-bleached abstraction. A model airplane, or starship, perhaps, some futuristic toy conjoined to a remote control with gaffer's tape. That's what I opt for tonight, as it seems most appropriate for a baby and unlikely to host a parasite. This time I've come prepared, with $10 in the elastic of my pajama bottoms, but the rag and bone man isn't interested. He reaches in my mailbox and presents me with its contents, an update on our investments, a tax thing, and the catalog they send us every month for years, because we bought nice sheets before our wedding. I fumble in my waistband as he regroups and clambers away, but the cash is missing, or so I think, before I find it folded on the kitchen counter. The toy is well designed. With 2 double A's and a bit of fiddling, I can fly it from the mudroom to the nursery. The baby chirps and claps her hands. My wife arches a brow but seems happy for the distraction. Like a languid black wasp, it thumps dumbly against the window. When my wife throws open the door to let some air in, the spacecraft zooms off, ignoring my frantic handling of the joystick. It is its own master now, and my wife says it's lost forever and good riddance. But I think I dream it lurking in the birches past our fence, or just in my periphery, keeping a red blinking eye on me when I scuttle from the house to the car, to drive to work, and from the car back into the house again. I find the rag and bone man in the green belt that separates our development from an identical except less affluent one. He is occupied, I see, with bundling rolls of gray-stained gauze into paper lunch bags, adding dried flowers and a pinch of grain. He sings softly to himself, or rather to his packages, which he tucks together with great deliberation, patting them as if to give them comfort. I could help you, I offer. The rag and bone man ignores me. I have money, and I know some people. Influential ones? The song he's singing sounds familiar, but I can't place it. He is embellishing his project by tearing small pages from a travel Bible and pasting them to the craft paper with a honey-covered spoon. It is the last hour of night, and the sprinkler heads lunge like snakes from their burrows to shower the perfect turf with clean, clear water, soaking my ankles in my calfskin slippers, soaking the rag and bone man or his apparition, his pathetic gifts, his broken cart. From the dry creek bed, crickets join the rag and bone man's song. From the scrim of branches of dying ash trees, a blinking red eye remains silent. Thank you.
Ponteri is on a rooftop. I'm working on this book. I've been working on it for many years. During these readings, I've been reading excerpts of it for years, and it's so close to done. But I also love the point at which I think, oh, it's so close to done, and I want to be gentle and tender with it, and then I'm like, no, it's time to add some new stuff to this. I think there's a great invitation in not being afraid to really open up, even when you think you're done. I recently had an upheaval in my life, and that upheaval is not mentioned at all in these pages, but half of you in the audience know what happened. Mainly, I was curious about exploring just some of the behavior patterns that gave way to it. I see a few patterns, both entrenched at work. The first is a belief, an old one, that I'm not worthy of being loved, that I'm a bad person, which partially in collaboration with other factors incited a mania of reaching, that swiftly gripping impulse to reach and give, to prove my love urgently so. My ordinary way of being in the world didn't, to me, seem like enough. I needed to pile on my affections, the daily love letters, over texting, all the romantic offerings, everything excessively abusive, eventually cloying. The mania, which also included the anxiety of separation, and that anxiety's further transmutation into low self-worth, felt like an abdominal noise that crowded out all other feelings, present or nascent, desensitizing my body from other kinds of emotional experience. This lack of self-worth perhaps began with my traumatic premature birth, a 2-month stay in an incubator without any human touch, let alone my mother's. Then it grew out when I, the youngest, the baby of the family, watched my older brothers turn towards each other away from me, watch them go off elsewhere to play without me, then later to their first jobs bussing tables at the same restaurant, then to college, quickly followed by my dad's departure. They didn't want to play with me or take me with them, which translated into I'm lacking, I'm not worthy, as opposed to something more factual. Like they were older, had different interests. The second pattern, entangled with the first, was me not listening to my body, not allowing my feelings to guide its motion through space-time, the cultivation of affective relationship building. This was the pattern of attending to what should be instead of what was true to my body, to the extent that I'd become unhappy and unhealthy, eventually, inevitably pushing away the person I was with, mistaking them for the conflict, which can possibly be resolved, or at the least worked through and deemed then accepted as irresolute. The false message I received, shaped also by my lack of self-worth, was that I was bad at relationships or a bad person. Again, this mistaking the person for the behavior, and like the mania, perhaps the other side of the same coin. This self-loathing occluded other feelings, further inhibiting me from varied emotional experience. The formative instances of not listening to my feelings, there are 3 of them, occurred in childhood. My brothers left in subsequent years, and my dad took a job in Chicago the same year my middle brother left. Living in an apartment in Chicago during the week, my dad would come home on weekends till the month-long trips abroad started, to China, Iraq, among other places. We went from a bustling family of 5 to just me, my mom, and the dog. Imagine my mom in her bedroom on the 2nd floor and me in the basement bedroom 2 floors below, and all that empty space between us. Nobody called this loss or grief. Nobody said you might feel lonely. You might feel sorrow. You might miss your brothers. You should miss your father. The house, without his presence, his door slams, an atmosphere of intensive ambition, is more relaxed, and you don't miss him. And you feel guilty for that. And you feel guilty for fearing your dad, someone you should love. And you feel angry that you're feeling all of that. Angry at the confusion of feelings, although not confusing now. As Dion Brand says in Salvage, Readings from the Wreck, quote, I would break free by attending to the lived contradictions that the photograph contained. End quote. The lived contradictions. That I could love a person with whom I was angry. That feelings of guilt might give way to anger. That the fusion of whiteness and violent masculinity was hurting all of us. When 4 years later, my dad at the same apartment in Chicago told me that he and my mom were divorcing, this, the second formative instance, I said out of anger and empathy for my mom, she's leaving you. I felt her loneliness and her anger and her ambivalence at his presence, for we felt it together. This also unspoken and incomprehensible to me at that moment. And he said, no, I'm leaving her. I pretended none of this bothered me. I felt angry, sad too. I didn't express those feelings on the drive to Indiana. I don't at all remember that drive. I do remember a moment from the drive the day before from Milwaukee, where I went to college, to Chicago, where his apartment was. Somewhere in Wisconsin or Illinois on I-94, I asked my dad with excitement in my voice, like we were friends and I were expressing my mature support for something happening in his and my mom's life, if he was planning on moving my mom up to Chicago with him. Would they live in the city or the suburbs? And he said that he didn't know. I recall his tone, the tone in his voice and his body language, eyes locked on the highway, one hand holding the top of the steering wheel, straight up noon, as tepid, nonplussed, or perhaps just ambivalent. Maybe on the drive from Chicago to Indiana the next day, surrounded by cornfields with copses of oak and birch, but out in the distance marking property lines or unseen country roads or creeks. I wondered why he didn't tell me the day before. Why did he have to wait till nighttime in the apartment overlooking Chicago's Gold Coast? What was it about the darkness that he needed to share this difficult news? Why would he have wanted me to take this sorrow in bed? And now I'm remembering the first night in mine and Oscar's new apartment, after Amy and I had split and moved to separate places. The year of our divorce, Oscar lying in bed on his side, crying himself to sleep, feeling the pain of that separation, and me sitting bedside, rubbing his back, attempting to soothe him, to reassure him. My parents' divorce and mine and Amy's divorce conjure each other, echo each other. They speak to one another. They make and unmake each other. The question is, how can I walk away from that conversation, from that incessant reconstruction? On the drive back to Indiana, I say back as if to convey return, which suggests home. I can't stop feeling my childhood home as my adult home. I can't give it up. I remember thinking about that excitement in my voice the day before, and not even 24 hours later, feeling angry and embarrassed by my excitement, loathing it, loathing what seemed to me like obsequious childish behavior. Now I view my excitement as sincere, my embarrassment and anger sincere too, but my self-loathing, an unnamed, undiagnosed symptom of my particular admixture of depression and anxiety, rose up from congested, untended shame, both private and collective, passed within and across generations, hereditary and conditioned. We were invaders on unceded Nashabe lands, not at all in touch with the shame rising up through the cemented over land into our feet through our bodies. And when I walked up to the door and my mom was standing in the doorway waiting for me, perhaps anticipating a tender, sad boy, he's so sensitive, my mom would often say in response to my tearing up or her attempt to protect me from my brother's more competitive play, where they're not wanting to take me with them. What she found was a calm, assured adult. The new man of the house kept it together. The new man of the house didn't need to fight back tears. And there, thanks for listening, y'all.
Now I turn into host.
Our third reader is Sara Jaffe. Am I saying that right? Yeah. Sara is a writer, educator, and therapist based in Portland, Oregon. Sara holds a BA in philosophy. Oh no! Oh my gosh! Oh yeah.
It's good.
Sara texted me a new bio, and for a moment I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm reading the old bio. It's the host. It's the director here. Sara holds a BA in philosophy, an MFA in poetry and creative nonfiction, and an MS in integral psychology. Sara teaches literature and creative writing at the University of Portland, PNCA, and at Harrisburg Area Community College. Sara's writing appears in Fence, the Seattle Review, Nailed Magazine, and her two collections, Oh to Be a Dragon and Cyrenamelia. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Sara's writing practice explores themes of presence, inner child reclamation, trauma, nature, sacredness, rebellion, and the grotesque. Let's welcome Sara. There's some microphone help.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I'm stoked to be here again at the residency. I'm going to read some poems tonight that come from a practice of writing I did last year, actually with a friend who's here, Erin. Can you get closer to the mic? Get closer? How's that? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thanks. So yeah, I'll be reading, it's really weird to speak. It is. Some of these poems are in a sort of state of translation or revision, and I'm kind of sitting with that moment. So echoing what you were saying, Jay, of how to reapproach writing and not be sort of too delicate, but also to make sense of what's there and let it sort of distill. And these are just kind of a wandering from the last year, a mix of themes. The first one is called The Size of Ourselves. Most of us saw a vagina in the Rorschach, which of course wasn't an option. None of the options quite right. And the test, so familiar, it can't really be seen as anything other than itself. Meanwhile, the artist created a mist for people to see light through. Inevitable rainbows and the size of the waterfall there to remind us of the size of ourselves. My parents told me a waterfall was mine. I felt like a small god, which felt like feeling part of everything else. ZZ. My ZZ is growing a new rachis, a particular kind of stalk. It seems inches higher each day, somehow, a relentless impulse, a child's hand. What I have left from the dream is an image of my ex, the one who raped me, and we are gently breaking up, talking about poetry like we are friends, and I'm not shattered in a paradox of connection and self-protection. I Google him again, find his native plant landscapes, a picture of his tiny daughter. Midlife Spring Sonnet. The rain washed the streets with pink petals, left the trees gleaming with droplets. I stole a low lilac, away I love my mother. On Cedar Ave, we had a bush growing beside the coop. Lilac and bunny, how could childhood have been anything other than sweetness? Yet so much of my healing ruminates on hurt. And then there is this work of remembering it is both and ever revealing itself. It's late now. This time I'm barely awake, the only time I slow enough lately to let myself write. Something's firing in the street, over and over and over, and now nothing. The next few pieces are from some time in France and Italy that I was so lucky to have in August. I was on my honeymoon. This one is called For All of Me. One vine makes just half the glass. August fields, grapes, I'm ovulating between ganache and meringue, fucking in a beam of chateau light, gamay red everywhere, and blue doors the same as Corey's place. I feel my baby's soul coming to me and remember my work of waiting for all. The village bells ring, and Corey can tell when it's a person or a machine. I wear my wedding shoes around the garden, take in the land, periwinkle with evening. We are almost the same latitude as Oregon. Bees hover in the lavender, and maybe a baby hummingbird. And that was really idyllic, and this part of the trip got a little weird. And this title is strange too, and it's a working title. It's Are They Mammals If They Lactate? It's so easy to romanticize living in nature, paradise to be among the jade, eucalyptus, prickly pear. The geckos crawl the walls, so cute, until we start to notice their poop in corners and more turds until we see them everywhere. 2 cockroaches in the shower. We attempt to lock them in, read about the pliability of lacking exoskeletons. They shrink themselves down through 1/6 of their size, which basically means it's useless to think about cracks under the doors or sealing off the open air cottage. We cope by Googling more, finding cockroach milk is actually a superfood, which Corey says must be a Brooklyn thing. And are they mammals if they lactate? The middle section holds milk, and they need to be vivisected to harvest it. And to get a whole glass, you need 1,000 lactating roaches. Unreal. Corey reads a piece titled, Where Have All the Cockroaches Gone? And I hear Paula Cole in my head. And suddenly, the 2 we have sort of trapped in our water closet seem very rare and vulnerable, lactating and endangered. My babies. We learned a lot in that experience. Stromboli was invisible. The olive trees sang all day with crickets through their silver leaves, as though one can rest at any moment here. I saw a piece of gold in the sand, and as I reached for it, it vanished. The sky was a smear of clouds, so Stromboli was invisible, and Corey's back is still rosy with burn. He has now found peace with the gecko turds. The cockroach played dead, which they can do for up to a week, and then Philip killed it again, maybe. This time feels like being suspended in honey. The composition of one email is an enormous task. I have no idea how I function, how I normally do. We walk to the restaurant and pass two elderly Italians singing Eric Clapton. We tell each other the stories of losing our virginities, both of us so young and disconnected from our bodies. Before we return, we imagine the cockroach is back, bigger than before, as big as us, playing electric guitar and smoking in the shower. Half memory. Phenomenologists felt pretentious, talking about experience so abstractly, possibly problematically, too serious to take seriously, and maybe I couldn't take myself. How A insisted I didn't have to throw away everything I felt. They arrived, the steaming noodles, and when she dropped one, it made the shape of a worm or a hook, a thing in a bit of its own liquid on the table between us. A shared haunting, what we both forgot, but still feel. Noodle, two on the nose to call it a question mark. And this will be my last one. Thanks, everybody. Silent music. Clouds gave way to a peach lavender fog over Nihikani. With the shift, we passed through grass foothills of dunes, stripped down and ran naked into the Pacific, capillaries stinging with a cold that is hot, feeling new in the air, posing, swinging our arms, something about the expanse and the light, evoking silent music, because there we were, moving to it.
Thank you, Sarah. Before I introduce our final reader, some information for you all. Tomorrow evening, Low Res Visual Studies opening exhibition. Their thesis students are opening. Wow, it's raining right now. Michaela Terrell, Low Res Creative Writing, is part of that opening. So I hope you all can attend. There's going to be some amazing art. That's tomorrow, I think, between 5 and 8. Saturday, we have the Decanon Restless Library event in which the library will be distributed. So I hope you all will come to that. And then Emilly Prado's Drawing the Draft on Sunday. I'm going to get to the introduction because it is raining. Ahnika, we're staying, don't worry. Ahnika Wood is an interdisciplinary artist working in textile and text-based modalities, rooted in the embodied knowledge of fiber arts traditions. Their work reflects on the nature of relationships from the personal to the elemental. Ahnika moves as a weaver, using opposing axes of thought to create interfaces of communication. They explore themes of coding, language, and the body to reveal webs of connection and disintegration. Ahnika holds a BFA in fibers from the Savannah College of Art and Design and currently lives here in Portland. And Ahnika taught an amazing class here at PNCA. So let's give Ahnika Wood a hand.
Hello. How does the volume? Okay. I have some old work and I have some new work.
Oh, shit.
What do you guys want to hear first? No. Okay.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
I pulled. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You pull me, I pull you into a cadence of unknowing, wanting, growing towards the fleshy edge of the meadow. Low ground near a hidden river, up the hill, staticky, my feet chafed in the heat, your smell in August fading, the earth flipped over in small patches and recovered. Torn and taken, blooms sprouting from the body, we pass across each other. The examination of spores made, protecting the space made, we stand engulfed by our loneliness suddenly. Across the large basin now, you and me, eyes leaking from a bottomless well. The earth itself, mother beneath me. My hands are small, my throat pouring, my organs, musty odor of what has been. A tired few hoisting this crumbling bouquet down the basin. Cover it, this vast thing. I have no more. I have no more. This tiny creature is born in me again, small and yawning, dancing my shoulders, coming round my ears. She is infinite and lovely, infinitely heavy and light, pouring messages to you in the night, across the unseen, towards the wanting, towards the growing feeling in me that I am whole, that I am possible. Filling up this honey hole of upturned mushrooms with my whole heart, enormous, a fruiting body, planting itself in the basin, dust like snow falling on it, the layers thickening. She is alive, beating only louder in our mother. Messages to you in the night. I stir, pumped up with blood, every cell engorged to find my way in this night, building life backwards, strands of cords, steps retracing. You recount me. You recount me in the night. My lips a prayer, my tongue on fire, spilling water across your sacrum, licking your nervous system as mine ignites. Messages from you in the night. I see you squatting, unclothed in the sand, bent over an object. There is a swallowing, a collapse sideways, your hair stuck to your forehead, in moisture, the dampness, the air oozes. My wispy, extended self touches you, in total transparency, places hands on your arms, pushes the breath back in you, and sings. One long note repeating, falling, hovering inside sorrow. Messages to you in the night. Awake. You follow me silently, invisible, radiating a fleeting warmth. I disintegrate and shapeshift under your soil, prickly, the texture of turning, feeling you. I do not fully locate you. I do not turn to see you. I twist and uncoil myself inside my eyes. The basin, the microscopic life flourishing alongside it, meadowing. The wind recounts you. I recount you in the night. Two of us searching, signs pointing, circling outside in the night, growing stronger, waiting for rain, waiting to see what fruits and who is found, either side of our touching meadow. Okay, I'm glad the rain stopped because this book, I made this book, so she's my baby. Yeah, I'll do a little more. I don't know how to break this down because there's more in here than what I'm going to read, but I'm just going to go across it. The body, a doorway. Gritty, the aftertaste of pear in my teeth. I was touched here. Inside this flavor, I savor and remember who I am, seeing behind these eyes. Hands reach for my skin, starlight, eyelids. I came into contact with kindred spirits. Unearthed misplacement. Islands we find by ascension, our queendom. An oyster of a world with you, unturned. I kneel to see a mystery. You hold out to me a tiny thing, turning between fingertips. A body soaring over, you count the beat of his wings. Flash, flash, flash of orange. You tell me twice, it's a flicker. To him, we must be quite the pair, crouching to look at something unseen. Heads cocked towards one another, open necks mean, I can take more of you, I want to receive. receive heartbeats and shivers, gestures and whispers. Here, the open air does not see our bond as wrong, and God is not a man, nor language, but rather dew and mist, and we are made of water. I'm enacting a ceremony of disbelief at your feet, inscribing a circle, encircling imprints, our handprints kissing, sandy hands and hair mixing. You've come to fasten gleaming seaweed ribbons to my hair, down my back, a twirling line, describing my spine. We turn to face new terrain, spirits boiling up from the earth and spitting wild shapes, unfurling life beyond equation. Growth structures beckon us with awnings and webs of rooms, the walls inside are plastered. Our handiwork catalyzed into constellations of decay and bloom. I feel like folding. I can, I will, I do, into this glorious earth that created you. Subjunctive. This swimming symphony, the bite of attention each creature calls for, blending together. Something to sift through, as rocks, pebbles, sand of different granules, living as one texture under my feet. You, the ephemeral, come out to meet me miraging in the waves of heat, pavement against my soul, dark, absorbent, yet somewhat walled to this bright sun, burning behind your sauntering form. I dance my insides at you. My body alchemizes from sand to glass, glittering, the creature I am, vying briefly and boldly for your presence. A bird struggles its way out of my throat, blue, emerging wet, hoping not to be kept. A promise in bramble. The path left rings out a song of emptiness, space that wants not to be held, but led along the maze that is my eternal cityscape. No forest, no concrete, whichever terrain, we know nothing about where the light comes from, only that it does, and reliably so, it ushers in the way out and through. So we are always falling, folding, returning, in pleasure and pain, to ourselves. Flesh, fingertips, the ache of wanting. I rise from the ash. You cannot hold me. This cityscape, a jungle inferno. My lungs dipping down into the relief of water, climate, light, and moisture. I've been told what it is not. The mark I must make under the spell of surrender comes easy now, for I do not own nor push. I purge. Burrs along the saltwater edge, I stick and seed through hell on earth until birth renders me a mother, father of my mistaken love, like lilies. The tiny ecosystem emerges, collapses into the space between my toes, rests on my shoulder, a promise, a bloom in turquoise, the size of my pinky nail, touches down like a butterfly in the shadow of my belly button, whispers, you are not done. Not even close, I know. The sky told me so, told me to come down and lay my body prostrate in bramble in an act of curiosity, a sign of what I am not, so I might give all I am. Okay, I'll do one more. Visitation. You, I, we. Hear me, hear you speak. We, me, you, build a room for our rest, an aching path towards the core of the earth, like tracing root, suckling the wealth of dirt, pulling our visitations to us. We crawl into the palms of our own hands. Weight, seedling, strength adhering carefully, many tiny suctions, an arm, an elbow of my chrysalis. Oxygen lapping like the shore. Between drowning, twisting, I pull my moon, my tide, opening center to lungs, infused in longing, tethered upward, ribs rise from the ocean of grief, the ocean hovering, almost still. Quivering to touch the dissolving face of my God, manifest in the body of past, present darlings, eyes close to yours, flash fluttering beings, so we might see our own miracles, See it flowing from soil, see it illuminated across the skin of strangers. See it warming up the eyes of my silent watchers. Coax it out from the hands of power. Soften up the corners of our unconscious mouths so I might be rested, finally, in the effort of blossoming. Our right, our calling, stories passed on air, propelled. We tell them. Under tree branches, office hallways, the hush of night, we tell ourselves, light stars, touch sun, of our truth. Our cadences soaring, trespassing, kaleidoscopic butterflies of the unkept hour.
Hey, thanks all for coming. Let's give all of our readers another round of applause. So now I don't have to go so fast because it's not raining anymore. I hope you all come to the exhibitions tomorrow, Low Res Visual Studies and Low Res Creative Writing. Also, all of our students, Low Res Creative Writing students, we are not at this building tomorrow. We are at PNCA. So do not come to this building tomorrow. Go to PNCA where everything is happening.
Good to know.
All right, thanks for coming. There's more food, so keep eating.
It's one of the, is that water?
Oh yeah, you can take the one on that very end. Is probably the safest. Yeah, great reading, Ahnika.
Thank you.
Really good poems.
Thank you. I don't really read out loud like that, so
Yeah.
it was good for
You
me.
did a good job. Yeah, you did great.